The karmic lesson Capricorn must master in this lifetime. I want you to stop for a second. Not just pause the video. Actually stop, take a breath, and ask yourself this question honestly. How many times in your life have you achieved exactly what you were chasing? The goal, the position, the success, the recognition, and still felt an emptiness inside that you couldn't explain? How many times have you carried the weight of everyone around you, solved every problem, held everything together, and then gone home and felt completely alone? How many times have you told yourself, I'll rest when I get there, and there never actually came? If you're a Capricorn, I already know your answer. Because I'm talking about you. I'm talking about the pattern that follows you from lifetime to lifetime. The invisible thread that connects every challenge you face, every relationship that breaks you open, every moment where life forces you to your knees and asks you to choose differently. This is not just astrology. This is your soul's contract. And today, here on Capricorn Secrets, we're going to go somewhere most channels are too afraid to take you. We're going to talk about the karmic lesson Capricorn must master in this lifetime. Not what you're supposed to achieve. Not what you're supposed to build. What you're supposed to become. I believe that souls choose their incarnations. Not randomly. Not casually. With intention. And if your soul chose to come into this life as a Capricorn, it chose one of the most demanding, most purposeful, and most spiritually loaded placements in the entire zodiac. Saturn, your ruling planet, is not a planet of comfort. It never has been. Ancient astrologers called it the greater malefic. The planet of limitation, discipline, karma, and time. The planet that tests you not to punish you, but to forge you. Think of Saturn as the master blacksmith of the cosmos. And you are the iron in his hands. Every restriction you've ever felt. Every time a door closed on you right when you thought you were ready. Every delay, every setback, every moment where life said not yet instead of yes, that was Saturn. Working on you, shaping you, removing the parts that weren't real so that what remained could be unbreakable. But here's what I need you to understand. And I need you to really hear this. Saturn's lessons are not about what you do. They are about who you become. Most Capricorns spend this entire lifetime focused on doing, on achieving, on building structures that others can see and measure and validate. And they're extraordinary at it. The discipline, the persistence, the ability to delay gratification in ways that most signs couldn't dream of. That is real, and it is powerful. But the karma that brought you here isn't asking you to build more. It's asking you to look at why you build. And that question, that single terrifying question, is where the real journey begins. Let me tell you something I've noticed about Capricorn souls. And I say this with complete love and deep respect, because this is not easy to hear. Capricorn has a pattern of using achievement as armor. Not consciously, not maliciously, but deeply, quietly, almost invisibly. There is a belief running underneath the surface of the Capricorn psyche that says, if I am useful enough, successful enough, strong enough, needed enough, then I am worthy of love. Then I am safe. Then I cannot be abandoned. Do you recognize that? Because I want you to sit with it for a moment before we move on. This pattern didn't begin in this lifetime. Karmically, many Capricorn souls carry the memory of a time, whether in a past life or deep in early childhood, where their worth was conditional, where love was something that had to be earned, where rest was dangerous because resting meant falling behind, and falling behind meant losing everything. And so you learn to work, to perform, to achieve, to be the most reliable, the most responsible, the most capable person in every room. And it worked. People needed you. People respected you. People came to you when everything fell apart. But they rarely just loved you for nothing, for simply existing. And that wound, the wound of conditional worth, is exactly what Saturn is asking you to heal in this lifetime. Because here is the spiritual truth that underpins every karmic lesson Capricorn carries. You cannot build anything truly lasting on a foundation of unworthiness. You can build success. You can build wealth. You can build an impressive life. But you cannot build peace. You cannot build real intimacy. You cannot build the kind of legacy that actually feeds your soul, until you address the belief at the root. The belief that you have to earn your place in this world. You don't. You never did. Now I want to reframe something for you. Something that might shift the way you see your entire life up to this point. Every hard thing Saturn has put you through, every loss, every delay, every moment where you worked tirelessly and still didn't get what you deserved, was not punishment. It was curriculum. Saturn is the planet of mastery. And mastery cannot be downloaded. It cannot be inherited. It cannot be faked or rushed or bought. It has to be lived, earned through repetition, through failure, through getting back up so many times that eventually you stop getting up because you have to, and start getting up because you choose to. That is the shift Saturn is waiting for. There is a profound difference between the Capricorn who strives because they are afraid of what happens if they stop, and the Capricorn who strives because they have found genuine meaning in what they are building. The first version is exhausting. It never feels like enough. There is always another mountain, always another benchmark, always another version of success that stays just out of reach. The second version is different. It moves differently. It breathes differently. It creates from a place of alignment rather than anxiety. And the karmic lesson, the real one, the deep one, is the journey from the first version to the second. Saturn will keep presenting you with situations that trigger the old pattern. A promotion that doesn't come. A relationship that falls apart right when you thought you'd finally gotten it right. A health crisis that forces you to stop. A betrayal from someone you trusted completely. Each of these moments is an exam. And the question on every exam is the same. Can you trust life even when you can't control the outcome? That is what Saturn is teaching you. Not how to work harder. Not how to be more disciplined. You already know how to do those things. Saturn is teaching you faith, trust, the terrifying, revolutionary act of releasing control and believing that you are held by something larger than your own effort. For a Capricorn soul, that is the hardest lesson in the cosmos, and it is yours to master. If this is speaking to something deep in you, hit that like button and subscribe to Capricorn Secrets. This is the kind of content we live for, and we're just getting started. I need to talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough in spiritual content about Capricorn. The shadow. Every sign has one. The shadow is not the evil version of you. It's the unintegrated version. The parts that developed as survival strategies and then stayed long past the point where they were useful. For Capricorn, the shadow has several faces. The first face is control. When you don't trust life, when deep down you believe that if you let go, everything will collapse. You grip. You micromanage. You plan obsessively. You struggle to delegate. You have difficulty being in relationships where you're not the one who holds everything together. And the spiritual invitation here is not to become careless. It's to recognize that control is an illusion, that the things worth having in this life, love, presence, meaning, peace, cannot be controlled into existence. They can only be allowed. The second face of the shadow is emotional withdrawal. Capricorn is a master at functioning, at keeping it together, at being the rock. And while that strength is genuinely admirable, it can become a prison. When you never allow yourself to be seen in your pain, when you process everything alone in silence, when you interpret asking for help as failure, you cut yourself off from the very intimacy your soul is starving for. The spiritual lesson here is that being witnessed in your vulnerability is not weakness. It is one of the most sacred acts of trust one human being can offer another. The third face is the refusal to receive. This is the one that surprises people. Capricorn gives extraordinarily well. They show up, they provide, they protect, they sacrifice. But receiving, truly receiving love, help, grace, abundance, feels deeply uncomfortable. Because receiving requires surrender. It requires acknowledging that you need something, that you don't have it all handled, that you are in some way incomplete without another. And the karmic irony is breathtaking. The Capricorn who cannot receive is the same soul who, at their core, is desperate to be loved not for what they do, but for who they are. The shadow, ultimately, is just the soul protecting a wound it hasn't healed yet. And Saturn, patient, relentless, loving Saturn, will keep recreating the conditions for that healing until you finally say yes. Now I want to talk about the other side. Because the karmic weight Capricorn carries is not a curse. It is, in fact, the very source of some of the most extraordinary spiritual gifts in the entire zodiac. The same soul that was forged in difficulty develops a depth that cannot be manufactured. When a Capricorn has done the inner work, when they've walked through the fire of their own shadow and come out the other side, what emerges is something rare and genuinely sacred. They become the mountain. Not the mountain that blocks the path. The mountain that is the path. Steady, ancient, unmoved by the small storms of life. A presence that others feel simply by being near. A wisdom that doesn't come from reading or studying, but from having lived. There is a spiritual archetype that Capricorn carries in their highest expression. The elders, the guides, the ones who have been through the depths and returned with something to offer. The ones who can sit with another person in their darkest moment without flinching, without rushing them toward the light, without needing the discomfort to end, because they have befriended their own darkness. That is you, Capricorn, at your highest, at your most evolved. You also carry the gift of sacred structure. In spiritual terms, structure is not the enemy of freedom. Structure is what allows energy to move with purpose. A river without banks is just a flood. A melody without rhythm is just noise. Your natural capacity to build, to organize, to create systems that stand the test of time, when directed toward something meaningful, toward something that serves not just your ambition, but your soul's purpose. That becomes one of the most powerful forces for good on this planet. The Capricorns who have mastered their karmic lesson become the builders of things that last. Not just businesses or buildings, but communities, movements, healing spaces, families, legacies. Things that continue to give after they are gone. And perhaps the greatest gift of all, integrity. In a world that moves fast and cuts corners, and says whatever it needs to say to get ahead, the evolved Capricorn is a rare fixed point. Their word means something. Their presence means something. They do not perform goodness. They embody it slowly, imperfectly, over a lifetime of choosing it again and again even when it cost them something. That is Saturn's gift to you. Earned. Unshakable. Yours. I want to spend some time here because this is where so much of the karmic work actually happens. For Capricorn, relationships are not separate from the spiritual journey. They are the spiritual journey. Every significant relationship in a Capricorn's life is a mirror. A place where the karmic patterns get activated, get challenged, and, if you're willing, get healed. You will attract people who need your strength. This is almost universal for Capricorn souls. People who are lost, who are struggling, who need someone to hold the structure while they fall apart. And you will show up for them, fully, reliably, without complaint. But the karmic question is, who shows up for you? Because there is a pattern, and I say this gently, where Capricorn unconsciously selects people who need them, because being needed feels safer than being loved. Being needed is a transaction you can manage. Being loved requires you to be seen. The karmic lesson in love is learning the difference between a relationship where you are valued and a relationship where you are useful. You deserve to be both. But if you had to choose, and sometimes life will ask you to choose, your soul is calling you toward the one where you are deeply, irrationally, unconditionally valued. Not for what you provide, not for the problems you solve, not for the stability you bring, for the way your eyes look when you talk about something you love, for the rare laugh that escapes when you finally let your guard down, for the quiet wisdom in the way you move through the world. There are also the karmic relationships, the ones that feel fated, magnetic, impossible to explain rationally. The ones where you meet someone and something ancient in you recognizes them. These relationships are not always easy. They are rarely easy, but they are assignments. They are the universe handing you the exact circumstances your soul needs to practice the lesson. To choose vulnerability over armor. To choose trust over control. To choose presence over performance. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes, these relationships are where the healing finally lands. So what does it actually look like to begin mastering this karmic lesson in daily life? Because spirituality without practice is just poetry. And Capricorn, of all signs, knows that real transformation requires real action. The first practice is this: catch the moment before the armor goes on. There will be a moment today, maybe in a conversation, maybe in a quiet instant alone, where you feel something vulnerable rise up in you. A need, a fear, a longing. And you will feel the reflex to push it down, to handle it, to convert it into productivity or silence. In that moment, pause, just for 3 seconds, and ask, what is this feeling actually asking for? Not to fix it, not to solve it, just to acknowledge it exists. That is the beginning. The second practice: let someone help you. I know how that lands for a Capricorn. But choose someone safe, someone who has shown you, through consistent action, that they can be trusted. And let them in, even a little, even one layer deeper than you usually allow. This is not weakness. This is the most courageous spiritual practice you can undertake. The third practice: build something that has nothing to do with achievement. A ritual, a creative practice, a daily moment of pure presence, walking in nature, sitting in silence, writing for no one but yourself. Something that has no outcome, no product, no value on any market. Something that exists only because it nourishes your soul. This is how you begin to separate your worth from your output. This is how you teach your nervous system, slowly, that you are allowed to exist without producing. The fourth practice: talk to Saturn. I mean this seriously. In whatever spiritual language feels true to you, meditation, prayer, journaling, simply speaking out loud in the quiet of your room, acknowledge your relationship with this force. Tell it what you're tired of carrying. Ask it what it is truly trying to teach you. Listen. Saturn responds to honesty, to humility, to the willingness to be a student rather than a master. And the fifth practice, the one that contains all the others: decide that you are enough, right now, exactly as you are. Not when you reach the goal. Not when the relationship is healed. Not when the bank account hits the number. Not when you finally figure it all out. Now, here, with all the unfinished business, all the unanswered questions, all the parts of yourself you haven't integrated yet. You are enough. That is not a passive declaration. It is a radical act of spiritual rebellion against every conditioning that told you otherwise. And it is, ultimately, the lesson Saturn has been preparing you to learn since before you took your first breath in this lifetime. If you've made it here, I want you to know something. The fact that you're seeking this, that you're asking these questions about your soul, your patterns, your purpose, that is not small. Most people never get here. Most people live entire lifetimes without once asking why they do what they do or what their pain is trying to teach them. You are asking, and that already means something profound. Capricorn, your karmic lesson is not easy. It never was. Saturn didn't choose you for easy. Saturn chose you because your soul has the capacity to carry weight, to be transformed by it, and to turn that transformation into something that lights the way for others. The lesson is not to stop building. It's to build from wholeness instead of from fear. The lesson is not to stop being strong. It's to let your strength include softness. The lesson is not to stop achieving. It's to finally deeply know that you were worthy before you achieved a single thing. That is the mastery. That is the karmic gift waiting on the other side of everything Saturn has put you through. And you are closer to it than you think. If this video touched something real in you today, please give it a like. It takes 1 second, and it means everything for this channel to keep creating content that actually goes deep. And if you haven't subscribed to Capricorn Secrets yet, do it now. Because this is what we do here. We don't skim the surface. We go into the places that actually matter. The spiritual, the emotional, the raw truth of what it means to be a Capricorn soul navigating this lifetime. You belong in this community. Leave a comment below and tell me, which part of this video hit you the hardest? I read every single one. See you in the next one. Blackheart.